Welcome back to the Royal Sussex Squad, the home of unfiltered truth, bold commentary and unwavering support for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. If you're tired of the recycled tabloid smears, the double standards and the non-stop attacks on two people who simply chose peace and authenticity over performance and protocol, then you are in the right place. Today we're diving into one of the most absurd and revealing stories the press has latched onto lately. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, releases a beautifully crafted apricot fruit spread through her new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. And suddenly the jam world is at war. You can't make this up. A woman creates a product based on things she genuinely loves, rustic living, intentional simplicity and nourishing delights, and it sells out within minutes. That's success, that's demand. But instead of celebrating this achievement, or even just staying quiet, here comes jam expert Donna Collins, who decided it was her moment to shine by tearing down Meghan's work on a public stage. And not just any critique. Oh no, this was personal, targeted and dripping with condescension. Collins didn't offer feedback. She offered shame, disguised as expertise. She called Meghan's apricot fruit spread a failure. She said, and I quote, "It's a real disappointment that Meghan is selling a fruit spread, which is what you make when your jam fails." She continued, "There's no excuse for this. It should be perfect. Let's pause right there. Let's take a breath." A woman who's never worked with Meghan, who doesn't know the process, the intent, the timeline, the goals, just declared this handcrafted product a failure based on her narrow definition of jam. Not a discussion, not curiosity, just condemnation. That's not professionalism, that's spite. But it didn't stop there. Collins also criticised the ingredients, claiming that conventionally grown apricots, her words, will have used pesticides. She even questioned why pectin, a gelling agent, was used, claiming most spreads don't require it, and suggesting this was evidence the product was too runny. First of all, let's get real. Meghan isn't bottling poison. She's not out here inventing a product with zero oversight or understanding. She's creating something with care, precision and intention, and to suggest otherwise is not just insulting, it's disingenuous. Second, since when did jam and fruit spreads become political weapons? Because that's what this is. It's not about jam, it's about Meghan. It's about using something as innocent as a breakfast condiment to launch yet another smear campaign. It's about discrediting a black woman's creativity, her effort and her authenticity. Yet again. Let's not forget, Meghan started this brand with her own passion and her own resources. She spent more than a year building American Riviera Orchard, and when she finally launched it in April 2025, the response was overwhelming. People loved it. They wanted it. The jars sold out instantly, not because of some PR trick, but because people trust Meghan's taste, her brand, and what she stands for. That success? That sellout? It was real, it was earned. But of course, here come the detractors, always lurking, waiting to pounce. People like Donna Collins, who suggest the only reason the jars sold out is because it was a small batch, as if exclusivity isn't a perfectly valid and common marketing strategy. Let's talk about that. When Beyoncé drops a limited edition vinyl, it's genius. When Nike drops exclusive sneakers, it's iconic. When Meghan Markle sells a limited batch of artisan apricot spread, suddenly it's suspicious. Somehow it's not real success. You see the pattern? It's always a double standard when it comes to Meghan. She's never allowed to just be. If she's quiet, she's cold. If she speaks, she's attention-seeking. If she creates, it's fake. If she succeeds, it's rigged. The criticism is never about the thing. It's always about her. Let's also talk about how Meghan's projects are always scrutinized to the atomic level. But no one is holding Buckingham Palace's tea set to these standards. No one is asking Kate Middleton if her Royal Foundation T-shirts use pectin. No one is questioning the authenticity of Charles's sustainable biscuits or Camilla's community wine tastings. Why? Because Meghan represents a different kind of power. A self-made, independent, mixed-race woman who carved out her own lane and refused to play the palace's game. And because she's different, she's dangerous. Not in action, but in symbolism. That's why they try to belittle everything she does. It's not the spread they're mad at. It's that people wanted the spread. They're mad that Meghan still commands attention, headlines, loyalty, without the institution behind her. And the press? They can't help themselves. They grabbed onto Donna Collins' petty critique like it was gospel. They printed it, reprinted it, spread it like wildfire. Pun intended, because negativity sells. Because Meghan's name in a headline still guarantees clicks, outrage and money in the bank for failing tabloids. And you know what the saddest part is? The people criticising Meghan would never hold a white duchess, a British royal or a male celebrity to these same standards. Meghan's crime isn't in her recipe, it's in her refusal to shrink. Let's not forget, this is a woman who left a toxic environment, chose peace over privilege, and continues to build a life centred on kindness, wellness and empowerment. And even then, they find a way to vilify her. Just look at the broader pattern. When Meghan launched Archetypes, the podcast exploring how women are labelled and dismissed, she was labelled and dismissed. The media mocked her for complaining, for overthinking, for daring to challenge the status quo. Now she's set to release her new podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, and the critics are already circling like vultures. They haven't even heard a single episode, but they're desperate to discredit her, because the truth is, they fear her voice. They fear her ability to connect. They fear her audience. Same story with her Netflix series, With Love Meghan. It's not dramatic, it's not scandalous, it's beautiful, intentional, human. But because it doesn't fit the mould of what they want a duchess to be, they nitpick and dismiss it. It's exhausting. And yet, Meghan keeps rising. Despite every smear, every sneer, every sarcastic column or TV jab, she continues to thrive. And she does it with grace. She does it without retaliating. She lets the work speak for itself. That apricot spread, it spoke. It said, I am here, I am building, I am not broken. And Harry? He's right by her side, every step of the way, supporting her publicly, privately and proudly, the way a real partner should. Together they're raising two beautiful children, running impactful charities and telling stories that matter. They don't need palace gates, they don't need crowns or press favours. They've built something stronger, legacy rooted in values. So let the haters talk. Let the jelly queens posture. Meghan's success doesn't need defending, but we're going to defend it anyway because the world needs to hear the truth. This isn't about jam. This is about justice. This is about a woman who was told she would never belong, showing the world she doesn't have to. This is about creating a space where authenticity thrives, where criticism isn't weaponized, and where black women, and all women, can stand tall in their purpose. Meghan Markle's fruit spread was never too runny, but the critics, they're running out of excuses. We gather here again seeking clarity in a world that often feels off balance. Today we must talk about Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, a woman who dared to build a life on her own terms. Her journey has inspired hope, but also relentless personal criticism. This isn't just celebrity gossip, it's about fairness and decency and the courage to stand firm. Our purpose is not to stir controversy, but to defend the idea that a woman of colour can step away from an ancient institution and forge her own path. The attacks against her are constant and designed to diminish her, yet we've seen her resilience and strength. It's our duty to look past the noise and call out the motives behind these attacks, a coordinated effort to punish independence. The media amplifies her critics, twisting every act into a calculated scheme. We must ask, why this relentless focus on Meghan? The answer reveals more about her critics than about her. Let's walk through this latest chapter together, a story that, on the surface, is about apricot jam. But beneath it, it's about the freedom to create, the right to build, and the dignity of a family choosing a life of meaning outside the gilded cage. This story matters because it reflects the struggles of anyone who challenges the status quo. It's a story of courage that deserves honesty and compassion. Let's seek the truth together. Meghan's journey is not just her own, it's a symbol for all who dare to be different. The criticism she faces is a warning to others: don't step out of line. But her example shows that it's possible to survive and even thrive outside the system. That's why we must stand with Meghan. Let's begin. It started with a simple jar of apricot jam from Meghan's new brand, American Riviera Orchard. She sent these as gifts, a personal, gentle launch. But the British press responded with a storm of criticism. Suddenly everyone was a jam expert, attacking Meghan, not the product. Donna Collins, a so-called expert, dismissed the jam without tasting it, calling it elitist. The criticism wasn't about quality, it was about Meghan herself. The message, how dare she create something beautiful and share it? This was a dog whistle to those who resent her independence. The playbook is familiar. Isolate an action, strip it of context, weaponize it. A jar of jam becomes a symbol of arrogance. A gift becomes a plea for attention. This isn't journalism, it's a targeted campaign to undermine her credibility. The goal, ensure nothing she does is seen as genuine success. A woman starts a business and the world's media descends with condemnation, not curiosity. The critics aren't interested in jam, they want to damage Meghan's brand. The negativity fuels their own agendas. The jam was never the real issue, it's just the latest prop in a drama where Meghan is always cast as the villain. No matter how peaceful her actions, the narrative is set. This is about control, not jam. Let's be clear. Meghan faces a double standard. When other royals launch products, they're celebrated for tradition and savvy. King Charles's duchy originals have been praised for decades. No one called him elitist. But when Meghan, an American woman of colour, does the same, it's called crass commercialism. The language and assumptions are different. The verdict is predetermined. Her success is used as a weapon, not a celebration. This is the definition of an unlevel playing field. The double standard extends to every aspect of her life: fashion, words, motives. The media has two sets of rules, one for the established royals, another, harsher one for Meghan. This isn't opinion. It's a pattern, visible in thousands of headlines. Why is Meghan held to a different standard? The answer, race, nationality, and her refusal to conform. She challenged the unspoken rules, and for that, she's punished. The jam attacks are a proxy war, a way to express resentment of her independence and identity. The injustice is deep and deliberate. Meghan's every move is scrutinised, while others are given a pass. The real issue isn't jam, it's who gets to belong, and who gets to define the rules. Behind the outrage is a simple truth. Meghan poured her heart into this project. Friends praised the jam's quality and the care in its packaging. This was a creator's act, not a corporate ploy. American Riviera Orchard is a nod to her Santa Barbara home, a celebration of roots, nature and sharing. The brand was developed over a year with thoughtfulness and vision. Critics ignore this dedication, preferring to see a cash grab. But the reality is a woman channeling creativity into something meaningful. Her success contradicts the narrative of a woman lost without the monarchy. So, critics tear down her creations, mocking her efforts. But we see the truth. Quiet dedication, attention to detail, genuine passion. This is not someone lost, it's someone who's found her way. Meghan is building a brand rooted in home, community and quality. Her creative resilience threatens those who want her to fail. Her joy is her power, her creativity is her shield. The real story is one of hope and self-determination. That's what her critics can't stand. Critics called Meghan's limited jam launch elitist, claiming it was only for celebrities. The narrative, she's out of touch, creating something unattainable. Yet, in luxury branding, exclusivity is celebrated. Limited editions and exclusive access are signs of success for others. For Meghan, it's twisted into a flaw. The rules change depending on who's playing. If the establishment approves, exclusivity is prestige. For Meghan, it's arrogance. The goalposts move so she can never win. This isn't fair criticism, it's a targeted attack. The real offence is her audacity to succeed on her own terms. To understand the vitriol, we must look deeper. Meghan, a biracial American actress, entered the very white, very British monarchy. She didn't fit the mould, she had her own voice and career. From the start, she was treated as an outsider. The resistance is rooted in fear of change and a rigid class structure. Meghan represented modernity and challenged the old guard. Race is the unspoken and often spoken elephant in the room. The press used coded language and outright racism to mark her as other. Her independence is her greatest crime. Leaving the royal family was an act of defiance they've never forgiven. Every attack since is punishment for walking away. They want to prove she'll fail without them. But every success proves them wrong. When history is written, Harry and Meghan's legacy won't be petty headlines. It will be resilience. They've endured storms that would break most, yet they stand and build. Their success is used against them, their impact dismissed or mocked. The establishment can't tolerate their happiness outside the palace. Other royals' ventures escape scrutiny. The focus is always on the Sussexes. They are the ones who got away, exposing cracks in the system. Their resilience is symbolic, a rebuke to the institution. They're building a life on their own values, raising children in peace, championing causes. They act, not just talk. This is the legacy that matters: courage, integrity, love over duty. They set a new standard for modern, compassionate public life. Their story is about hope, not scandal. That's the Sussex standard. Where do we go from here? We can't just observe injustice. We must question what we read and look for real motives behind attacks on independent women like Meghan. This is a coordinated campaign of bias fueled by racism, misogyny and fear. When you see a headline mocking Meghan, ask, is it really about jam or about punishing a black woman for her independence? This moment calls for solidarity. Stand with Meghan and Harry not because they're perfect, but because their fight is bigger than themselves. Supporting them is a vote for a kinder, more equitable world. Let your voice be heard. Celebrate their successes. The story of Harry and Meghan is one of hope and courage. Let's stand with them for their sake and for the world we want to create. Drop a comment showing love to Meghan and Harry and tell us what you think about this ridiculous attack on her brand. And if you want to support this truth-telling movement, hit that super thanks button below. Every bit helps us keep the fire lit. This is the Royal Sussex Squad, and we ride for Harry and Meghan every day, all day. We'll see you in the next one.